Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Life Work Balance podcast. I am Leah Starkey, and here with me is our co-host, Paul Conley. So I'm going to jump right into it and introduce our guest today because he is a good friend of mine who I've known for a very long time. So today we are lucky to have with us Jordan Lahy. Jordan, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, as you said, my name is Jordan Lahy. I am a father, pretty young father. I have a 14-month-old and have a fiance. And on top of that, I am a business owner. I'm an owner of Inside Out Cleaning LLC.
Awesome. I love that's where you're at now, but life was a little different 6 years ago. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely life was way different 6 years ago. Without going into the details, 6 years ago, I was incarcerated. I was released about 5 years ago. So at 6 years ago, I was at the end of my incarceration, but I actually did 9 years in Virginia State Prison System.
Okay, so that is a little bit different background than most of our other entrepreneurs. I'm sure everybody's listening going, oh, great, we got another entrepreneur, same story. So I'm excited to get into the whole concept of, let's start with, you're a business owner now. 6 years ago, you were getting ready to get out of prison. Were you getting out of prison knowing that you were going to start a business? Like, how was the transition period for you?
So I would say 6 years ago, the idea of a business owner came into play. Earlier in my incarceration, I had no idea, no thought being a business owner. I had a million different things I may do, but owning a business wasn't one of them. But towards the end, it's funny how it came about. Because of good behavior, I worked my security level down over the years. So at the last prison I was at, it was a work center, and we were allowed to go outside of the gate for work. And I had a job as the janitor for the administration and business office of a main prison. And I was just, you're killing time. So I was really into my work, and I was waxing floors and polishing floors. And a lot of the guards were like, hey, dude, is this what you've done your whole life? Is this what you did on the street? And I'm like, nah, never thought about it. They're like, the work you do is amazing. You should start thinking about maybe opening your own janitorial service when you get out of prison. And it's like the light bulb went off, and I'm like, well, I have a GED, but I don't have much education. I don't have much training in other trades. I've been doing this for a little while, so why not take it and run with it? And so that's how this came about.
I want to talk a little bit about your time when you were in prison. I think that it's probably hard to stay focused, motivated on what life could look like. How did you kind of keep and maybe did you keep that strong mental health and that positive mindset? Because obviously you've come out very well on the other side.
Yeah, definitely. And I could never do any type of interview without giving credit to my faith in Jesus Christ. That's what kept me rooted and grounded, was my faith in God. And so a lot of prayer, a lot of studying. But apart from the religious side of things, I believe mental health is extremely important, like a positive mindset. I read a lot of self-help books. Not only just read the books, but start practicing some of the principles that they talk about in the book, like positive thinking, doing morning affirmations of how you want your day to go and how you want your life to go. I started journaling. And another thing, I don't know if many people are familiar with, while I was in prison, I had a vision board. I would cut out things of how I saw my future, like out of different magazines and stuff, glued them all to a big piece of cardboard. And it's like almost like a fantasy, but I believe that it really does help you get your mind focused on the positive type of life that you're aspiring to have. And that way, when the distractions come up, you already have this vision of what you're hoping for in the future. And it's like, okay, this unnecessary noise, all these unnecessary distractions can't take me away from where I'm going in life.
I think that's so cool because we're all the time talking about it on the podcast here, like, oh, self-help, vision boards, this and that, we talk about it. And a lot of the people we're interviewing are already in a fairly decent spot. I mean, you were in what some would consider the worst possible situation, and here you are doing that. I'm curious if some of the things you had on your vision board or some of the things you thought would happen after you got out, did any of them that you thought were so outlandish that you had on your vision board, did any of them happen to come true, or were they close? Like, how did that work out for you?
Actually, one I had on not so much my vision board, but had it wrote down as like it was already accomplished. And it may be funny to others, but I have a love for cars. I have a passion for cars. And one time before I had got my life together, I had an older 1983 Chevy Impala. And of course, through drinking and partying, I ended up flipping it on the interstate and destroying the car. So when I was in prison, I was like, God, if you give me the opportunity to own another one, I'll make sure I give you recognition for changing my life. And I had it wrote down. I said I had a red Chevy Caprice with chrome wheels and a white top. And that's the only place that car existed, was in my notebook. And right now, if I go up in my garage, I got a red Chevy Caprice with a white top and chrome rims. And so that's not the only thing that's come to fruition, but that's probably one that, I mean, every detail is there that I had wrote down. It's, I mean, to a T. And even after getting out of prison, I was living in a smaller house. We had the baby coming. It's like, man, I need a house and I would like a garage for my car. So I took a picture and put it on a vision board of a house a little bit larger than where I was living, with a garage. And some random guy started talking to me at the gym one day. And long story short, I'm living in a house that he owned that is bigger, with a garage for my car. So, I mean, this stuff, it works. It might sound far-fetched to some people, but I'm a believer in the positive thought movement and in vision boards and affirmations, and they really help in life.
Yeah. And I personally am myself too. I think that sometimes you have to put it out there and allow for it to happen. Some people kind of roll their eyes at it, which is fine. But I know that I don't know anybody that does this stuff, whether it's the affirmations, whether it's the journaling, whether it's kind of the planning, visioning, that regrets it. Nobody's ever disappointed when they do it. So whether it works all the time or not, I just think it's a great mindset to have. And it kind of leads me to my next question of really, when you come out of prison, there's so many choices you can make, and so many people go back down that same path. It seems like you kind of had that plan of wanting a greater life, but how did you really start implementing it once you got out in the real world?
I would say it started before I got out in the real world.
Yep.
Like I had to get things established. Very, very good friend of mine. I consider him a brother. We're just not blood related. Daniel Bowden. I'm gonna shout him out, owner of Bowden Painting. He was there for me, and but I was looking into, like, where am I going to work? So I reached out to him. Hey man, would your painting company give me a job when I get out? And he said, sure. I wasn't an experienced painter, but he made a way for me. But just, I think before I got out, just planning, okay, I got to get a job. I got to have a place to stay. He helped me with a place to stay until I could get on my feet. But leading up to your question, after release, it's like I had to implement everything that I was saying I was going to do. So it took immediate action. Instead of, they give you a certain amount of time to go check in at the probation office, instead of waiting I think it's 72 hours. I said, okay, I'm going immediately. Let me get on this right away and get this taken care of. Getting bank accounts set up, using resources that they give you in prison, like where to go to for like job fairs and all of those kinds of things. But I guess to answer your question, preparation. You have to be prepared. You have to, but that's life, right? Not just getting out of prison. I think that's to make it and live this successful, joyful life. We have to prepare for it, because things just don't happen because you wish them to happen. They don't just happen because it sounds like a good idea. It's, yeah, the wishing and the great ideas happen, but you have to put action into those things to bring them about. So I would say taking action immediately, getting out of prison, is what got the ball rolling. What is the saying in physics? An object in motion stays in motion. An object at rest stays at rest, and that's how life goes as well. If we're not in motion, we're not gonna stay in motion. So it's, take the action immediately. You don't have to have all the answers, but you just got to take action.
That's such good advice.
It's
Paul
so
and I
good.
always, we always refer to it as messy action. That's how this
Yeah.
podcast came about, is messy action. Just do it.
Well, and too many people, I mean, I love the vision board. I love the affirmations. I love writing stuff down, because you have to have an idea of what you want, but then sometimes people don't do anything about step 2. Like, if you'll never get that car if you don't go to a car dealership or go find it. I mean, it's not going to just pull up in your driveway. So there is some level of, you have to do both. So that's perfect. That's awesome.
I'm over here laughing because Paul and I, before we got on this episode, we're texting, and we've been talking about putting our episodes on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, they're going on YouTube. Like, I've edited the videos, like we're putting them on there. And Paul's like, how's it going? I was like, yeah, you know what? I've been overthinking this. I need to just do it. Just take the initiative and do it. Put it out there, make it messy, be whatever, because we're months later and I haven't gotten anywhere with it because it's not there. Like you said, it's not going to just show up unless you just do it. So that's awesome advice for anybody trying to do anything, really. I am super curious about this one because Jordan, you and I talked about this. So we use Jordan as a pressure washer, and his work is phenomenal. It is, I mean, if you saw what the pool area looked like before and after, you would be amazed. But that being said, we were talking one day when he was out here doing some work, and I was just super curious, like, how do you go from prison to starting a business in 2022, 2023, at this time frame? And he was talking about advertising and different stuff. And I said, you're on social media. And he was telling me about, Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, before you went into prison, social media was obviously nothing like it is now. How did you transition your business into 2023 when you went into prison without any of that social media knowledge?
And can we go back to where social media isn't a thing? Is that possible?
Never.
Paul, yes, I wish we would go back to social media.
Me too sometimes, man.
I'll be honest, it's a struggle for me. Technology is not easy. I think when I went to prison, the first iPhone had just came out, so everybody didn't have iPhones yet. I still had, I think, a flip phone,
Nokia.
Shout out flip phones.
I had never even used an iPhone. And then I come home and it's like the iPhone 8 is out. So it's like, oh my gosh, but what I do, I'm completely lost. And that part has not been easy. And still being home almost 5 years, it's a daily struggle trying to keep up with technology and how to use it. Thank God for my fiance. She probably gets frustrated with me, but I ask her questions of like how to do this and how to do that. And as crazy as it may sound, because he's a lot older than me, but my dad is up on technology, so he helps me out with stuff too. I think that goes back to like, your network is your net worth. You gotta build a strong network of people, but you gotta be just as beneficial to them as they are to you. And it's like, hey, you're scratching my back, I'm scratching your back, and we're helping each other out. And that's been the biggest step in social media. I think I had a MySpace when I went to prison, and that was it. And of course, now everything is advertised on Facebook. Instagram's really big now. Still learning that platform a little bit. But I mean, you got people whose entire net worth comes off of their Instagram account. So I think it's very important to keep up with, and I'm trying to do better. But yes, it's definitely still a struggle for me. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and I asked that because obviously you had to overcome that because that is just part of business now. But I also asked that because that struggle is the same for everybody, whether they missed out on that time period or not, because businesses are so run now by social media advertising. You need to be on this platform, that platform. Paul's really good at this. I'm really bad at this, but I'm like, we got to be on all the platforms everywhere, do all the things. And Paul's like, let's just focus on one or two. But you're right. There's people out there whose entire jobs come from just doing social media. And I mean, that being said, I'm a big fan of people who get paid to do social media because I love to pawn my stuff off on them. But yeah, so I asked that because it does relate to everybody.
And I think that when you get into this position of wanting to start your own business, I'm guessing here, there was probably some things between the ears that were saying, who am I to start a business? This isn't going to work. I'm not going to make it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to be a story with most people that are starting something. Did that happen with you? And if so, how did you kind of push through it?
Definitely happened with me. Definitely still happens with me almost on a daily basis.
Yep. Yeah.
As humans, it's like, everybody has some type of fear of the unknown. Like, well, what if I try to step my business up and get government contracts? What do I know about government contracts? With my background, would the government ever want to use me on their facilities? And you have all this fear. But if you don't, it goes back to the original question at the beginning. If you don't take action, it's never going to happen. So, and it goes back to what y'all said, take action, messy action. I mean,
yeah.
I had no clue about starting a business other than, okay, you got to get a business license. It's good to have an LLC. But as far as the fundamentals of it, I didn't know anything about it. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. So, okay, I'm going to figure it out. And it's still like that. Like, I'm coming up as my business has grown. I have new obstacles of, how to structure things to get the best tax advantages that I can. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. I'm learning. I don't want to hurt myself. You know what I mean? Or I could even say when I first got out, I had this idea of having a janitorial business that's going to work so easy. Immediately, I'm going to have all these great contracts. And I don't think I got my first contract until 2 years after I had started the business. I was doing pressure washing jobs here and there, but as far as my actual janitorial contracts, it took time. But then I realized, like, whoa, I don't know anything. I know how to clean a building, but I don't know anything about getting these large commercial accounts. And if I didn't learn through baby steps along the way, I would have completely failed if I would have just got these huge office buildings right away when I first got out. But with that being said, I didn't let the fear of failure stop me from doing what I wanted to do. And I think in anything in life, we have to look at it like, okay, if I have this fear of failure, if I don't do it, it's never going to happen.
Right.
If I have this fear and I take action, what's the worst thing that can happen? I just don't make it, but at least you tried. You know what didn't work. Okay, so you can try it again later. But we have to push through our fears, and we just have to step out there into the unknown and figure it out as we go sometimes.
So
I
true.
love
That's
that.
sometimes the hardest.
So many times, and I challenge people on this all the time. They'll say, well, what if this happens? And most of the time it's what if this, insert this negative result. And if it's unknown, you have to give the same thought and credence to something positive happens. What if you start this business and it becomes, a multi-million-dollar business? Okay, that could happen. What if? So I love that answer. I love kind of the pushing through. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, because I know you said you kind of figured it out as you went. For me, I didn't know jack shit about businesses or any of that stuff a couple years ago. But for me, I learned through YouTube. And then I also had some friends that had businesses and I kind of picked their brains. Did you have a mentor as you were starting this business? Anybody else that owned a business that kind of walked you through it, or how did you learn as you went?
As far as a mentor in the janitorial field, no, I didn't. I learned a lot of skills as far as like how to wax floors and keep them looking like perfectly shiny while I was in prison, because in prison you got guys that's been in there for 25 years and they've been doing that for 25 years. So I picked up little advice from them here and there. My friend that owns Bowden Paint, and I learned some ins and outs of business through him, like payroll and, organizing your workers and all of that. But YouTube's been great. I've learned new tips and tricks when it comes to pressure washing from watching YouTube videos. But really a lot of it has been figuring it out on my own. This didn't work, so let's try it this way next time. And
Right. I know mine's all trial and error.
yeah, sometimes it's the best teacher.
Right.
I hate to say that, because sometimes if we listen to somebody that's gone through something, we don't have to let experience teach us. We can take their word for it, but a lot of times experience is our best teacher. And but I think it probably would have been easier, like say if I worked for somebody in the janitorial world and then branched out to do my own thing. But I just kind of hit the ground running and was like, and if we're honest, a lot of times as people, we think we know more than what we really know, So I was like, no, I can do this. I got this. I know how to do this. No, I really didn't, but I figured it out.
But I also feel like we kind of need that false sense of confidence, maybe, that we do think we know how to do stuff, because otherwise that's when we get in our own head. That's when we're like, nope, can't do it, don't know how to do it. So sometimes I like to trick myself into thinking I know more than I do, just so I go for it.
Absolutely. That comes back to the positive affirmation thing.
Yes.
Sometimes you can trick yourself into doing something you never thought you could do.
Yes.
And sometimes it's so simple. I'm honestly sitting here. It's kind of full circle, because we were talking about YouTube earlier before the episode, Leah and I'm procrastinating on something myself. And I'm like, I got to do this. And then I'm like, wait a minute. If I just text one person, they're going to be able to tell me this answer in 3 minutes, and then I can just figure it out from there. And I've probably been hemming and hawing on how to do this for 6 months, and I haven't texted that person and I haven't Googled it. So, I just have to push through that. And I gave myself a deadline Friday. So I got to do it either today or tomorrow to execute. So that's great.
That's the trick. Give yourself a deadline.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't speak on that, but I agree with you 100%. Like when you have a deadline down, it's like, okay, I got to tighten up. I got to get this thing done. And honestly, I'm a last minute type of guy, but having that deadline right there at the last minute, it's like it turns on another gear, and I push through and get things knocked out so that I can meet my deadline. So whether it's an actual deadline or just one you created yourself, I do believe it's important to set that for you.
Some of the best work and most timely work is done the day before vacation, because you have to get it done. And everybody's sitting there like, well, I got 4 hours. I got to get all this stuff done. And then you do a week's worth of work in 4 hours.
Absolutely.
But I know that I'm sure that times get challenging. I know that the janitorial world, that's a tough business. When things get hard, what do you kind of go back to as your central why in life? Like why you get out of bed every morning, what keeps you going each day?
That's even become more clear lately. Like I said, I have a 14-month-old, and before, my why used to be I just want to be successful. I'm pretty much been written off as ever being successful because of my background, and I'm going to prove everybody wrong. That was my why before, but now when I see that little boy's face every day, it's like he's my why. This is why I do this. He needs to have a life that is better than any life I could have ever dreamed of. So the days I don't feel like doing it, and man, honestly, I believe I can't say for sure, but I believe any entrepreneur will tell you this. It probably goes through their head. I know it goes through mine. I'm just going to give all this up. This is too much over all of it. I'm going to give it up. But when I see him, I think about him and this future I want to create for him, and my fiance, want to give her a life that she's only dreamed of. It's like, this is what keeps me going every day. Sometimes I have late nights getting home, but I'm still up early every morning. Some of my contracts, I have people cleaning my buildings for me. Some of them I still have to go do as well. Makes life hard sometimes. I don't get the vacation time like everybody else does. I don't get sick leave or any of that, but my family is my why. And that's what keeps me pushing through every single day. Even the days I don't feel like doing anything, they're the ones that keep me going.
Yeah, I think that's the epitome of a strong why too, because so many times we're like, oh, like you said, my why is I want to be successful. Well, that's an easy one to give up on because it's yourself. And I know everybody says you should do stuff for yourself, but I kind of feel like when your why is someone else or something else, it's a lot more difficult to give up than if it's just yourself and you're like, I don't need it that bad, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's like when, and maybe they're not relying on me, but when I believe that,
Yeah,
I don't want to let them down,
for sure.
I
And
don't want to feel I'm a failure to them. You know what I
right.
mean? I could be a failure to myself, but I could live with that. It would suck, but I could live with it. But I don't want to fail my family.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's important to acknowledge too that your why can change. Like it doesn't have to stay the same. Like you're starting out over here. Well, now you have something a lot bigger picture to become your why. I think it's important for entrepreneurs, people in general, if they're just trying to go for a goal, that if you want to lose weight, maybe your why changes from losing weight to being healthy. It can change whatever your why is. It doesn't have to always stay the same.
Definitely, I agree with that 100%. And personally, I don't like change. Like I could do the same routine thing every single day, but unfortunately, life is like that.
Right,
Life
right.
life is ever changing, and if we don't change with life, we're going to get left behind. We'll stay stuck. So definitely, your why will always be changing from time to time. And if it's not, you need to ask yourself, okay, why isn't it changing?
Yes,
You
yes, for sure.
stagnant is, you know what I mean? What's going on here?
Right.
Self-reflection is very important too, I believe.
Yeah.
You said something that I think is so important for uh, anybody, really. I think that you mentioned that you wouldn't be deemed successful by whoever determines success. I don't know who gets the
Those
opportunity to like that. There's this central definition, but I think that we get so wrapped up in what is successful, and truly, like it's our own definition of it. What is success for each of us individually, not this global? Because you talk to somebody that has a multi-million-dollar business, to my standard, that's a successful business. But to their standard, if they're comparing themselves to somebody with $1 billion business, they're not there yet. So it's always leading and it's always interesting. And, somehow along the way, we've determined success by the number of dollars that somebody has. And, I just think that it's way more individualized than that. So I just wanted to share that with all the listeners, because I think some people get so caught up in in this box success. So I thought that was a great point.
So I think it's clear to our listeners at this point that your mental stamina is strong. You are very positive minded, and that's obviously gotten you to where you are. And that's what we're always pushing on our listeners too, is that mindset is really the key to a lot of things. And I want to talk about a little bit, and we talked about briefly beforehand, that you have done some speaking before in prison. Talk to us a little bit about that. Who were the group of people you were talking to? What were you talking about? Is this something you would like to pursue outside, in everyday life?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like a cliche saying, each one teach one. So it's like our life experiences help the next one. And when I was in prison, of course, I mentioned my faith in Christ. So I started speaking in the churches in prison, Bible studies, and some would call it preaching. I don't really like to call it preaching. I'm not the normal churchy, preachy type of person, but I do like to take biblical principles and relate them to real life practices. You know what I mean? To live this joyful, peaceful. I think we all want a peaceful life. I think we all want to be happy. How to apply the principles of God's word into our lives to experience heaven on earth, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I started the speakings in prison. Since I've been out of prison, I've done some speaking in different churches. When COVID came, it kind of screwed everything up, and my business has definitely took off more. So I haven't gotten back into the speaking. It's definitely something I'd like to do in the future. I believe all of us have a story that somebody else can relate to, whether it's me being in prison or whether it's the things that led me going to prison, the drug abuse, or, just bouts of depression and things like we all experience things that somebody else can relate to. And I just want to let people know, look, if I overcame it, anybody can overcome it. And I would love in the future to speak to groups of people, just giving them a positive outlook on life. Sometimes, I think I told you before we even started the podcast, the biggest prison we can experience is the one in our own mind. And I just let people know that if you can be free in your mind, you can be free in life. And it, like Paul was saying, success is usually measured by money for some reason in our society, but it's not all about that. If you're happy and you're full of joy and you have a family that loves you, I would say you're successful. And it's about being free in your mind so you can experience the life that you're trying to live or aspire to be. But yeah, so to answer your question, I would love to have opportunities to speak in the future. And it's definitely like my long-term goal. Maybe this business can retire me one day, and then I can follow my passion of traveling around and speaking to different groups.
I love it. I hope you do continue doing that, because your positivity and your mindset is inspiring and is motivating to other people. It's contagious for sure. So I do hope you keep up with that for sure.
We've hit on some of the hard hitting stuff in life, but I want to go one step a little bit deeper, a little bit further. Tell us about your favorite cookie.
Picking on me now. I'm in the gym. I love working out. I'm all about being healthy, man. Sweets are my biggest weakness. So I am a cookie monster. That's for sure. Can't say I have a favorite. It could, depending on my mood, is what is my favorite. But you can never go wrong with a nice, warm, gooey chocolate chip cookie. Never go wrong. So I would say probably a nice chocolate chip cookie.
Well, the greatest cookie you've ever had, the greatest chocolate chip cookie you've had, it's trash compared to the Cleveland cookie guy. The Cleveland cookie guy is the greatest cookie on the planet. It's just, that's all I can say. It is the best cookie you've ever had. He's got new flavors. He's always tinkering with different stuff. He's making cookies inside of cookies. You guys know the drill. Clee Cookie Guy on Instagram. He's got a big order coming up actually in 2 weeks. He's got a big one coming. So we've got a little party, a little get together where it's, you know, and got to have Cleveland Cookie Guy there. So for all your events, parties, everyday life gets hard. Have a cookie. Clee Cookie Guy on Instagram. All right. Final question. When you think of life and life work balance, what's one piece of advice you would give to the Life Work Balance Nation to help them put their life first?
Just go for it. Just go for it. You got to go for it. Find out your why and go for it. If you don't take the step, you'll never know what could be. Whatever it is you're trying to do. I mean, it could be a business, it could be getting in shape, it could be a number of things, but just go for it. That's my philosophy in life. You got to just go for it, and you got to have faith. Of course, I've touched on my religion, but it don't to accomplish what you want to do, you just have to have faith that you believe it can be done, that you can do it. So have that faith, step out there, don't let anything hold you back, and just go for it.
Yeah,
Great advice. Love it.
Well, we are so thankful that you sat with us today, and we ask all of our guests if they want people to touch base with them on social media, maybe hit you up about your cleaning business, or maybe they just want to get some motivational advice, or I don't know, just have you come speak at one of their events and motivate people. Where can they find you? Maybe your business website or any social media, because you know you're the social media guy now.
Yeah, definitely. I do have business pages on social media, but it's a business that's very similar to my name. So I would say look me up personally, and then I could send you a link to my business page. But check me out on Facebook. It's Jordan Lahy, JordanLahy. Check me out on Facebook. I always tag my business in any type of business post, and then I could direct you to the business account. I'm also on Instagram. The car I have is considered a box Chevy, so it's box Chevy J _86, BOXCHEVY J _86, and you can check me out on as well. And then that's the best way to reach me. Then whether it be business, if you need some extra motivation, or if you just want to be nosy and see what I got going on in my life, check me out.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to put all of that in the show notes for everybody and have it linked so they can go to that and click on you. Also, his business is Inside Out Cleaning, correct name?
Yeah, Inside Out Cleaning LLC.
LLC, gotcha.
In the name, and like I said, there's another one that's very similar to mine. Yeah. So check out my logo. It's black and red. It says Inside Out Cleaning LLC in black and red.
Awesome. And I'll have a link to that as well, so people could just click on that in the show notes. So great. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome. And I hope everybody got a little extra motivation today.
Love it. Thanks, Jordan.
It's been great. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to put me on your podcast.